A WECT Investigate series on the opioid crisis continues. Last week, we covered the origins of the epidemic, but you might have noticed, as we did, the topic has fallen out of the headlines as time has passed. We and others have heard some people think this means the issue is fixed and we can move on. But tonight, WECT investigative reporter Emily Featherston is here with a report that shows we still have a lot of work to do. So, Emily, where are we with the opioid epidemic?
Well, Fran, we have made progress through new laws, recovery centers, and task forces. But just as it took us years to get into this situation, experts say it's going to take years or even decades to get out of it. It's been more than 2 years since a high-profile study named Wilmington as one of the worst spots in the country for opioid abuse. In the time since, new laws have passed to slow down the tens of millions of pills pouring into the region and punish those distributing illicit drugs like heroin or fentanyl.
Some people say, well, we've stopped the overprescribing for the most part, so aren't we in the clear?
By some measures, things are getting better. North Carolina state officials announced a 5% drop in overdose deaths in 2018 compared to a 34% increase in 2017. New Hanover Regional Medical Center says its efforts have curbed prescribing, keeping 836,000 pills from being dispensed. But other experts have doubts. So we pulled all New Hanover County 911 calls related to overdoses from the beginning of 2017 to September of this year. Of the more than 2,600 calls, some were duplicates or canceled, but we found numbers so far in 2018 are on par with last year, with 275 patients transferred for medical treatment, 38 treated on site, and 7 dead on arrival. Wilmington Fire Department has actually seen an increase in overdose-related calls. Through the end of September, they've received 117 calls, compared to 78 during that time last year. Kenny House believes this may be because most efforts have been focused on preventing new cases of addiction, not necessarily addressing those already affected.
More people are walking in every day requesting treatment for opioid dependence than ever before.
Even now.
Even now. And that's been a point of interest because people are wondering, well, haven't we pretty much solved the opioid crisis? Isn't it going down? Is it getting better? From the standpoint of overdoses and from the standpoint of people needing treatment, it's actually slightly increased.
Really?
And the demand for treatment has greatly increased.
House says that doesn't mean we aren't making progress, just that the progress being made isn't with those already addicted to opioids or other substances. And even the efforts that have been made are being questioned, particularly medication-based treatments. Brent Butros, a former Wilmington resident and someone in recovery himself, says he knows all too well the risk that medications designed to help addiction will be abused.
I remember the first time that I was given Suboxone, the first thing that I tried to do was shoot it up. I didn't even, I wanted that rush, and then when I tried it, it worked. It gave me a high. Help me feel better. He says the problem is those treatments don't heal the underlying causes of addiction. It's not going to heal the person. If you give them a medication and you expect them to recover from all their past traumas, to recondition the way that they think, the way that they operate, and their lifestyles, then that's not going to do anything.
Those on the front lines, pharmacists like Beth Cavanis, say they are starting to see the same patterns with treatment medications that they saw with prescription painkillers.
I feel like I'm starting to get phone calls now where when it was the opioid crisis, people would call and say, do you have the IP312s? Like, what? Do you have IP312s? And what they were doing is they were reading me the imprint on the Percocet that they were interested in getting. And when you do that, that's a red flag to me. Now they're doing that with Suboxone. Do you have the orange ones? Do you have the white ones? Do you have the ones with this imprint? So I'm really have a new level of concern that the drug that we're supposed to be using to help stop addiction or help get people off of the opiates is now being abused.
So where are we?
I think we are smack in the middle of the crisis. I don't think we're out of it. I don't even think we're almost out of it. But we've come a long way. So we've moved from the onset of the crisis. We've learned some things that are effective prevention efforts, but I think we're still in the middle of this, which means that we need to pay attention to all of that.
Those we talked with say addressing the stigma associated with addiction is something we must do before more progress can be made. And these homeowners say they thought they were making the smart choice by picking a local company to fix their homes. But we found years of reported issues, legal cases, and complaints, and now customers say they're out thousands of dollars with no answers. During Hurricane Florence, Melissa Almodovar's home sustained significant roof damage, causing her ceilings, insulation, and drywall to collapse. More than 14 months later, she and her family are still living in trailers in their backyard.
It's very stressful. I have children, so seeing them having to live in trailers behind my house too, and I have a grandson that lives with me, a 4-year-old grandson, it's heartbreaking.
They aren't in this situation for lack of trying. Almodovar says she mucked out and gutted the house herself, as contractors were hard to come by in the months just after Florence. Then she hired Above All Roofing, a local Carolina Beach company, to fix her roof. And they did. She says they came out and fixed her roof in just one day, promising to come back and clean up the debris and do an inspection. That never happened. She says the very first time it rained, the roof began to leak.
I don't know where else to go at this point because I've paid 10 grand to get this house done with the insurance money that was given me, and now it's leaking and it has a warranty on it.
And she isn't the only one with this issue. WECT has received numerous phone calls and emails about the company, where customers have said their new or repaired roofs began to have issues shortly after installation. And despite the promise of a 5 to 10 year warranty, they can't get the company to make repairs. WECT obtained copies of 7 complaints filed with the North Carolina Attorney General's office about the company, along with civil and small claims court cases, and dozens of complaints to the Better Business Bureau, which itself has taken issue with the company for falsely claiming to be accredited. The company has responded to some of the complaints with the AG's office, denying the allegations, but has not responded to others.
It's been going, and I've been trying to get a hold of them since the very beginning. So, and it's like I said, they gave excuses, they would give excuses, and now it's to the point that you can't get a hold of them at all.
We haven't been able to get in touch either. When you call the main number that's listed on their advertising and website, you get this.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. The number you dialed has been changed, disconnected, or is no longer in service.
The other phone numbers people shared with us turned up similar results.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept new messages at this time. Please try again later.
We were able to get in touch with the owner's wife, who said she would pass along our message, but so far we haven't heard back. She also said there was a working number for the business, but wouldn't share it with us. Regarding the complaints, she briefly said there had been another hurricane, meaning Dorian, but the vast majority of the complaints we found originate long before that storm, some even before Hurricane Florence. And since she can't get in touch with them herself, I asked Almodovar what she wants the company to know.
I don't harbor ill will, I just want them to stand by their work. I really do. I have made several attempts and I've done my due diligence as a customer to get a hold of them. And I don't want it to have to go to legal proceedings or things like that because, like I said, I'm a single mom and I can't afford a lawyer. I really can't. But I also need a roof on my house that works, that's not going to leak and end up causing more damage than I've already had.
WECT investigates allegations of a culture of mismanagement and retaliation at a New Hanover County charter school.
Parents and former teachers reached out to us when they felt their concerns were not being taken seriously, and now at least one is taking them to court. WECT's investigative reporter Emily Featherston has followed the happenings at the school for almost a year now, talking with parents about their experiences. So what did you find out in the investigation, Emily?
Well, John, I found that these people aren't just bringing these issues to us. They've filed complaints with the state of North Carolina. And as you said, one teacher has now filed a lawsuit. And while many were afraid to speak with us on camera for fear of losing their new jobs or hurting their kids, they all said they just want things to change. It was supposed to provide parents a different option for educating their kids. Flexible seating, a classical teaching style, all at a tuition-free public school. Coastal Preparatory Academy joined the ranks of New Hanover County's charter schools in 2017, But some former teachers and parents say things almost immediately felt out of sorts when the head of school was fired less than a week into the first semester. Jamie Getz, a founding board member, took her place. Now, a former teacher has sued Getz and the school's leadership, alleging violations of federal law and retaliation for speaking out on behalf of students. And she isn't the only one who has those complaints. Another teacher who spoke with WECT said when she questioned how the school was handling required education plans for students with disabilities, she was suspended. Another said when she shared similar concerns, her contract was not renewed.
WECT's Investigates team has dug deeper into the claims made this week by Commissioner Rob Zappel. WECT's investigative reporter Emily Featherston is live with those details now. So Emily, what did you and the rest of the team look at?
Well, John, we wanted to look at a practice called serial meetings and how it may have been used in this case and what it really means. Normally, when a board like the County Commission meets, they have to publish a public notice of the date and time. They have to record minutes and let the public and media watch. In the case of New Hanover County, if 3 members meet, it's a public meeting and it has those requirements. Commissioner Rob Zappel told us, and we found through public records, that commissioners were meeting 1 or 2 at a time with hospital leaders. And that series of meetings allows the entire board to be brought up to speed without having to meet publicly.
This peaceful field, not far from a busy highway in Brunswick County, holds memories far less calm and serene.
The rumbling, the rolling, and everything coming, and it's kind of like thunder and lightning, really.
Because it was here, 60 years ago today, that National Airlines Flight 2511 crashed, killing all 34 people on board. The cause of the crash was determined by Civil Aeronautics Board members to be an explosion somewhere near the right wing and likely from dynamite. That launched an investigation by the FBI, one that officially remains unsolved, though the Bureau had one primary theory: that the ill-fated flight from New York to Miami was brought down by a man seeking to end his own life, a man named Julian Frank. The full FBI investigative file obtained by WECT paints the picture of Frank's life in the months leading up to the crash. The picture of his mental state. He bought nearly $1 million in life insurance leading up to the crash and was reportedly physically ill over the thought of flying the night the plane went down. But it also shows the walls closing in on him financially. He owed thousands to his mortgage clients, and he was connected to some unsavory characters, and to some extent, organized crime. He also reportedly sent a man on a dry run of the flight just months before he died, and had asked 2 different people about dynamite, where to get it, and how to use the delayed fuse. But despite an investigation that spanned several states and involved dozens of FBI offices, and included more than 4,000 interviews, they couldn't conclusively say that it was Julian Frank who carried the dynamite onto the flight, triggering the explosion. The plant sells power for commercial use and generates energy by burning coal, tires, and old railroad ties. That alone is a red flag for Chap Haddon, a biochemical engineer who also lives near the plant.
And when you do a little bit of research on it with tires, with the railroad ties and so forth, there's a potential that they could be sending out heavy metals into the environment.
Capital Power discharges 5 to 6 gallons of byproducts every second into the canal it shares with Duke's nuclear plant. The company says that wastewater doesn't contain harmful compounds that Haddon and others are worried about, and their processes help the water meet state standards. On Thursday, the state wants to hear from the public about the plant's wastewater permit, but while water is the reason for the meeting, it's particles in the air that many in the area are worried about.
Most of us will have to clean our houses once a year. We do notice that when you go outside, the cars will have debris on it, depending upon which way the wind goes.
Carol Kozlowski, who lives one neighborhood over from Haddon, says every few days a layer of black dust accumulates on surfaces outside her home.
You know, we're here, we're breathing it, our dog is out playing in the grass. You know, God only knows what he's picking up, what we're breathing in. And yes, I'm worried about the environment for sure, but I think, me personally, I'm more worried about my husband and my health and our puppy's health.
She says she and others will be bringing this up on top of their concerns about water quality at the meeting Thursday.